Ken Rusk, welcome to Succession Stories. I'm excited to talk with you, your experience, and give our audience a glimpse into your world. So welcome.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Let's start out with you. How did you get started in your business? And tell us a little bit about Rusk Industries.
Well, I won't take real long, but I mean, it goes back to like when I was younger, when I was 12, 13 years old, I had to be out working, doing something, paper routes. I worked at a bakery, I worked at a bowling alley. I did all kinds of things. And it's simply because I had four brothers in a very small house. And my father was like, if you want to get things beyond what I'm providing for you, you have to go out and find a way to do it. So, for me, money meant, or a job meant earning some money, which means I could go have some of the independence that I wanted. And, so when I was 15, I started to get serious because I wanted to buy a used car and, go out with my buddies or take my girlfriend out for pizza, the things that you did back then. So my high school actually shared a fence with an industrial park. And we'd cut through a hole in that fence after school and go hang out at the carryout, which is what, people did back then, because there weren't like shopping malls and stuff like that to any big degree near us. So yeah, we would do that. And I always remember going through these industrial parks, and there was always lots of activity. There's, people hustling and bustling around and, things that young guys liked, dump trucks and backhoes and all that kind of stuff. So I remember going to this one place and saying, what do you guys do? And I knew somebody that had worked there, and they said, well, we basically dig ditches. I mean, we fix old, rotten, smelly basements. And I said, okay, I think I'm qualified to do that. So I got on with them, and I dug ditches in the summertime. And then in the wintertime, when I was still in school, I would work at the front of the office in the marketing side. So what happened is, quickly beyond that, I started to learn both sides of the business by doing that seasonally. And when I came to be 18, it was like a crossroads. Do I go to college? Do I continue with what I'm doing? And they came to me and they said, we want to open new franchises around the country. And you're very experienced. You've been here for 4 years now, and the front and the back pretty well. Would you like to help us do that? So I literally lived out of a suitcase for the next 3 or 4 years, traveling around the Midwest, opening these businesses from scratch. And then I got tired of the travel thing and moved to Toledo, Ohio, and started in 1986 with 6 people, opened my own company. And I think now we have almost 200. So it's been a heck of a ride.
Wow, that's incredible. You didn't always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur. You got into as you said, you got into the business just because of happenstance, and then eventually found your way to being that person creating a business. And now, wow, it's a significant enterprise. Talk a little bit about that journey. What's it been like to go from 0 to 200 people? Is it, you said 20 plus years? Actually probably 30 plus years at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing how time flies. Yeah, what do you as you look back, what do you reflect on the most in that journey?
Well, it's interesting because the word entrepreneur is a vague term, because like if I said, here's a piece of paper and a crayon, draw entrepreneur, I mean, you can't really draw anything. It's kind of a means to another thing. An entrepreneur at what? So for me, I always kind of knew what I wanted my life to look like. I mean, there were things in my life that I knew that I wanted to have, the way I wanted to live, the way I wanted to travel, the hobbies I wanted to have, the family, that whole thing. So I kind of knew that the more I could work with an entrepreneurial mindset, which in my mind is just a collection of characteristics, and I write about them in my book. I think we all have entrepreneurial characteristics within us. I really do. I just think they're crying for a reason to come out. They need a reason to come out of us. And I think if you have a real crystal clear vision of what you want your life to look like, those things come out of you. And now you're chasing your own version of nirvana. I call it comfort, peace, and freedom. And when you know what that looks like, it's a little easier because you see it. So now you just have to walk towards it. And those other things that you surround yourself with, like, other team members and, entrepreneurs that you need to surround yourself with to grow, and goals and goal setting and celebration and accolades, all those things that you do, it kind of fuels that whole path towards getting to what you ultimately want. And Yeah, it's been quite a learning lesson. But again, it's not. I have no letters after my name. I never went to college. I have no formal training. So if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Let's talk about what it's taken. And you mentioned team. How did you build a team around you?
As long as they had a reason to work here, that's all I required. If I knew that they were chasing something, if I knew there was something that they really wanted, and I mean crystal clearly wanted, then that was good enough for me. We could learn the skills. I mean, again, we were ditch diggers, so it wasn't like we were, we were architecting 100-story buildings. Okay. But it was a service that was needed because, it's an unhealthy way to live if you have an old, damp, moldy, smelly basement. So as long as I could surround myself with people that were chasing something, then I knew I would be okay, because the people who are willing to tell you what their goals are and prove to you that they have a crystal clear path to getting them and commit to them and then share them, those are the types of people that end up becoming the entrepreneurs that you want to surround yourself with, or I should say the entrepreneurs. Because, I have 42 vehicles right now. That's a big risk. It's a lot of financial risk. It's a lot of, the sleepless nights. I hope everything comes home safe every night and all that. Some people don't want to go that far, but they still want to feel like they want to run their own show. So that's where the word entrepreneur comes from. And to me, that's a very powerful mechanism, because if you can surround yourself with a bunch of people that all want something for themselves first and for your business second, that's a pretty good force to reckon with as far as the growth patterns go.
Yeah, it's hard to find people who think like an owner. A lot of people just want the paycheck. They want to just be told what to do. Others want to figure it out. They want to be problem solvers. They want to be entrepreneurial. They want to innovate. They want to figure out new opportunities, and they want to grow. This idea of growth, I want to stay on that for a second. As you said, you started from scratch and now 200 employees, and I can only guess, the millions of dollars of revenue that you're bringing in as a business, which is providing not only for your family, but for your stakeholders, your employees, and their livelihoods in your community, which is really meaningful. So as you think about the growth path, what were some of the things that unlocked the growth? Was it all about ditch digging and being a subcontractor to larger providers where you kind of went all in on ditch digging? Or was there another thing as you look back on your growth pattern that enabled a step change?
Well, I think it's this. So I had always shared with them the same premise that I do today. I can't get what I want, nor can my company get what it wants or needs until all of you get what you want and need first. And it's absolutely true. I mean, it's in any business, there's an input, there's work, and then there's an output, right? And then it starts all over again. So I was never one that, if I lined all 200 people up in my parking lot and you looked at that group of people, I would not want anyone to pick me out as like the boss person. Okay. I always believed that it was kind of a team thing. So in my case, I said, well, look so we're doing X amount of revenue right now with who we are. And I'm going to ask you, what do you think the company could do beyond that? And if we do that, I'm going to share some of that with you. So in other words, you're going to be in control of your own income going forward from this point forward. And I would only insist that you have several things that you're after. You're going to fund your 401k. You're going to work on your future plans for what your life looks like in 3, 4, 5 different things that you're chasing, 6 months, 60 months, 10 years, 20 years, whatever, multiple things that you're doing at the same time. If you can set yourself up where you're in control of your life path, which is what I'm trying to do, then let's all get together and do that. And when those numbers happen, I'm going to share some of that newfound revenue, which doesn't cost me anything because it's newfound revenue. But the really cool thing was the number I had in my head was lower than what they came up with. And that was an eye opener. And guess what? They went out and did it their first year. So, to all the business owners out there, the first thing I would tell you is, and this is controversial, but try to become as irrelevant as you can. to the day-to-day business. Okay. If you're going to be a visionary, if you're going to be a driver, you can't have your hands on any specific things during the day that take you away from that. Offload those things to other people. They're probably better at it than you anyway. And allow them to work their departments and work their financials and work their effectiveness and their results, because together they're going to drive that company way further than you can drive it yourself.
That's such an important statement. I just want to pause on it and let it sink in for the audience. We talk about that theme a lot on this show, that if you are a business owner or you are owning a business, whichever way you like to say it, but a business owner who's very involved day to day and has a business that really needs them for problem solving, for service or product delivery, for anything, firefighting, that company may be less transferable, less desirable, attractive to an outside buyer or a third party who's interested in maybe, acquiring it one day. And if we want to harness the value of everything we've been building, it is one of the first things that we look at anyway, when we're talking with business owners. So you've brought it up. It's super important. And I wanted to ask you, because there's a lot of causes that you care about and you are spending time doing those things. I read about some Make-A-Wish, if you don't know if you're still involved in Make-A-Wish. So I thought we could talk about that and how over time, Ken, you've been able to follow your own words. As you've talked about goal setting and looking forward, you are spending your time outside of the business and in some ways benefiting the business, but you've been spending time outside of the business with your book. How did you set a course for that?
I looked at it this way. I told the staff, I said, this company is a finite mechanism. It's one company. So we all need to live off of this company, right? And so we either have a choice to grow this company as big as we can. And in some ways it's a franchise, so we're landlocked by territory. So in some ways that restricted us a little bit, not a lot, because it's still a big company. But to get beyond that, I said to them, if you allow me to go out and find new opportunities that are line extensions of our current company, other construction companies, other construction investments in distribution of products or whatever that are in line with what we do, and not too outside the box, so we kind of stay in our lane a little bit, then the less money I need to take from this place, the more is available for all of you. So you really want to kick me out of here and have me go prospecting for other opportunities so that I can grow the whole picture and we can grow the whole picture together. And I think that's really important. This whole thing with ownership and ego, it drives me crazy. I mean, if you're one of those owners that goes home and says, well, honey, whether it's your wife or your husband, and you say, well, I fixed this and I repaired that and I yelled at this and I changed that and I designed this and I set this in motion. I had a great day. I'm saying, no, you didn't have a great day, because without you, none of those things would have happened. So it's tough. You got to really let go of that whole thing about, I'm the owner, I'm the boss, I'm the whatever. And some people can't do that because they derive their personal value from those actions that they take. But I look at it like this. I would much rather talk about the opportunities that we made, the vision that we have, the things we were able to grow, and have everybody grow along with it, because it's just too hard to do it on your own. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to work 80 hours a week and pat yourself on the back and just stay where you're at. There's so much opportunity out there, especially in today's environment. And the people behind you, if you allow them to be open and honest and transparent, they should kick you out into the world and say, go find more opportunities so we can all make this thing bigger.
So you've done some acquisitions, it sounds like.
Yeah, we went into fire retardant chemicals for construction. We did some development, some home development, some land development, some office building stuff, and some investments in other things that are kind of construction related. So yeah, it was just kind of extensions of what we kind of knew. Like I wouldn't go out and try to like open a restaurant or something I know nothing about, right? but I found opportunities that were close to what we do. And we opened one more office of the type that we have about an hour and a half away from here. And, it really worked out kind of good because we didn't go too far out into the ocean without being able to get back. You know what I mean? So it was a little risky, but without risk, there's no reward, obviously. So, but we all wanted to do it, and we all wanted to grow make the pie bigger than it was. And, so far, so good.
How did you go about the process? Did you work with a broker or an intermediary? Or did you do the outreach yourself with your team?
I just had kept my eyes open for opportunities. I mean, you were in a small town in Toledo, Ohio, and I kind of had, this was 10 years in. So I kind of had my ear to what was going on and around the city and around. And I just always kept my eyes open for opportunity because, I believe that if you want something, you think about it hard enough, you vision it in your mind, even if you put it on a poster, draw it out and put it on the wall, your mind is going to attract itself to that. Because I was talking to Jarek Robbins the other day, who's the son of Tony Robbins. And one of the things that he told me was that there was science behind what I've been saying for years now, which is the more that you stare at something, the more that you see it, the faster those little neurotransmitters work in your brain to the point where your mind convinces itself that it already owns that thing. And then your body just takes over and creates a path to getting it. Really cool science. So I just thought, well, this is what I really want bad. I really want other opportunities to expand. And they just started showing themselves because I was open to it. And I'm not a special person. I mean, again, I'm no acquisition specialist by any means, but I knew that there were, we could do that, or we could get involved in that, or we could help him finance that. And they worked out pretty well.
Well, that's great. And I think from both sides of the table, right? This show, we cover both sides, buy side and sell side. And for owners who are hearing this and thinking, oh, maybe one day I could be a fit for someone else's larger entity. What were some of the criteria that you looked at? Was it, hey, let me look at their financials first, then let me look at strategic fit, product, services, team? What were some of the main drivers of value that you saw?
Well, in the chemical company, I heard a really successful investor tell me a long time ago, it's never the idea you invest in, it's the person, right? And because a great idea run by the wrong person is just going to stagnate. You're not going to get anywhere with it. So if you find a great idea and a great person, then you got something there. And when it came to the construction chemical business, there were things happening in the codes that were forcing builders to do these really burdensome things. I mean, crazy things that nobody wanted to do. And when this fire retardant chemical company came along, I knew that could be a also ran kind of thing, which would eliminate this headache for all these people. And they say if you can eliminate aggravation, you're going to become a wealthy person, right? So that was one step. And the guy that I was partnering with, I knew was a really solid individual, and he was really knowledgeable, and he was really, he was aggressive. He wanted to go make this business big, and he did. So when it came to the development, though, that was a little easier because I just relied upon good old fashioned supply and demand. You're talking about land that was it was adjacent to a lake, and it had the opportunity for not only houses, but boat docks. There wasn't hardly any boat docks for sale anywhere, and the supply was low. So, man, we hit the ground running there. I think we put up 10 houses in 1 year, sold them all, and we're finishing that development out now. But yeah, I think supply and demand is a huge thing. I've always said that, especially when it comes to working in the trades, if you're willing to do what everybody else isn't willing to do, you're going to do really well. Okay. And for us, even in the business, our core business, I mean, to stand knee deep in sludge and water and dirt and jackhammers and busted concrete, it's not everyone's willing to do that, but it's a necessary thing. And, so far, so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about succession planning. I want to talk about a topic that on this show in particular, and most times we're looking in the rearview mirror. It's owners who have come on and they tell me about the story of how they built the company and then maybe how they sold it or they've transferred to their children, etc. And you're not in that point yet. You're still in the business, correct? You're still running the company. And I'm certainly not trying to make you uncomfortable, but I want to have this conversation because what I find is that it's a taboo topic, but my question is why? Why is it? And it shouldn't be, just like you do strategic planning for your business, maybe you're doing strategic transition planning. And certainly that's what I advocate for. So in the areas that you're comfortable talking about, tell me a little bit of where you've spent some time with your team talking about succession of management and or succession of ownership.
Well, first off, that's a great question. I mean, I've been on, I told you, I've been on a lot of podcasts, we're closing in on 200 of them. I've never been asked that question. That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, actually. So what drives me towards what I'm about to tell you is the fact that I have seen, and I know personally, 3 or 4 people that are 60, 62, 63, 65 years old that have contracting companies where one's a stonemason, one is a floor tile guy, one does landscaping. And these are awesome businesses, Laurie. I mean, awesome. These guys are making 200-300 grand a year, right? And they have no one to leave their companies to. I mean, they tell me all the time, I'm retiring, but yet I have this golden goose right here and nobody wants it. And it just drives me crazy because if I was 30 or 40, I'd be all over these companies, right? So yeah, these guys have very valuable things, and all you need is one young guy or one young gal to say, you know what? I'm going to take a stab at being that guy's or that gal's apprentice for the next 3 or 4 years. And then I'm going to take that thing over and I'm going to hit the ground running. I mean, these people have customers and a customer base, and they have re-ups and demands, and it's crazy that nobody wants these companies. So I see these guys suffering through these things. And I also have several friends that have done ESOPs, in employee stock option plans. So we are in the process of actually looking at an ESOP now where the people that helped me drive this thing for all these years can benefit greatly from it. So I think that's a really solid option. I have other friends that have just outright sold their companies. They're when interest rates were super low and money was flowing like crazy. You couldn't make any money in the stock market. You couldn't make any money in your bank account because, they weren't paying any interest. But boy, I'll tell you what, if you could find a company that was knocking down 15 or 20 points, that was a valuable thing. So they were getting multiples that were unheard of to sell their company. So yeah, I'm thinking for me, it's going to be an ESOP scenario because I would still like to remain in some limited way and help the people behind me to realize even more of the dreams that they have. So
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that you've given it consideration and thinking about different options, because we never know if this option A is going to work out. We need to have an option B and option C.
right.
We have covered the topic of ESOPs on this show in particular with an ESOP attorney, Christy Britch. If anyone listening wants to go back and find that in our show archives on my website, it's a great episode. And we've had others come on the show and talk about ESOP. And there's resources out there if anyone listening wants to understand if that's a good fit for their business. Your business, Ken, is large enough with 200 employees where the demographics work out that not everybody is going to retire at the same time. That's really important. Right. And then another criteria for ESOPs is EBITDA. There's kind of a minimum because there's an administrative cost and time and effort, and is the proverbial juice worth the squeeze? Certainly in the transaction costs, but in general, and I know this is a big generalization, what I understand is that an ESOP, a sale to an ESOP, we're looking for a break even on that transaction within 2-3 years. Is that about what you've seen from your feasibility study?
Well, it's all over the place. I mean, I have friends that are in ESOPs that are going to get paid out over 5. some vesting schedules I mean, most of the vesting schedules I've heard are 5 years for the employees themselves. But you're correct in what you say, and this is what I like about it, because I get to now look downline and see all of the people that are going to be coming up to take over different positions, and they can see their future now 5, 10, 15 years down the road, and they can build value for themselves on that share price by increasing the value of the company. So now you have people that, again, even though we have a 401k program already, this is like a double shot, because now they can work hard to increase the stock value, almost like, stock price in GM would go up or down, you know what I mean? So that's a pretty exciting thing for us. And if I think our plan is going to be over 5 years, but, for me, we have such a great time. We have such a great culture. We have such a great family feel around here that I'm in no hurry to run out, certainly, but it'd be nice to see those folks, increase their net worth a little bit, but as they move along.
That sounds like a great option for your company, and I'm so glad to hear you're exploring it. When it comes to your business legacy and your personal legacy, what are some of the main things that you want to see continue forward?
Well, personally, we do a lot of charity work. I mean, we do things with Make-A-Wish. We do things with Boys and Girls Clubs and Junior Achievement and all that. And we most of the charity work that we do a lot of local stuff too that isn't nationally known. But most of the charity work that we do is work where you're not just writing a check to someone and sending it off to Africa and wondering where the hell your money went, you know what I mean, and how it's being used. And we're doing things where we can see where the money goes. We can get involved in the processes. We can meet the people that are the receivers of this and encourage them and help them get their lives in a place where they want them to be. So we like to back fighters. I mean, we're on our 13th Make-A-Wish child, I think, right now. And, they're all fighters and they're all still hanging in there and they're living great lives. And it's really great to see those things happen, because it gives you a sense, and it gives the staff a sense of greater purpose. Like, we work hard, we play hard, we make this money, but then what can we do to turn around and give back and help others? So personally, I would want people to say that guy was willing to share everything he had. I mean, he was willing to share his business with his employees. He was willing to share his money with the community. And I would want them to look at it from that perspective. I think from a business perspective, I would want people to say, you know what? The guy worked hard. I mean, hopefully everything that he touched turned to gold, and he was able to share that with a lot of people and change a lot of lives. And it doesn't always work out that way, but again, I've said it 3 times now. So far, so good.
Well, and also you talked about visualizing. It's something you can really visualize, and the more you can crystallize that goal and make it happen. So you're making it happen, which is amazing. Ken, this is a mic drop question.
Okay.
When owners think about the success factors for an exit without regret, what are 3 recommendations that you have for them?
I would say this without regret. I would say, did you live the life that you wanted to live? I mean, did you live your life in a way that you're not waiting till, oh my gosh, now I'm retired, now I can start taking up golf? Did you live a balanced life the whole time? That's the most important thing I would say. Number 2, I would say, were you able to turn around and say, I walked up to the top of that mountain, but I had some people that I took along with me. Okay. And now look I get to see on the other side, and I get to see them standing at the top of the mountain. I think that's just unbelievable to create wealth for people that have been with you the entire time and create success for them. And then finally, I would just say, were you a good person with your money, and did you help others? And can you point to a success where you changed even one life and made it better from someone who maybe you didn't even know their name, or maybe you never even met them, but for sure they're a better person because of you.
That's fantastic. You wrote a book. I'm sure there are many amazing quotes that you have that inspire you, Ken. But is there one in particular that jumps out that you'd like to share?
Yeah, it would be this one. We don't live to work. We work so that we can live. And I'm more interested in what the live part looks like. So let's get busy on that.
Awesome. If people want to get in touch, learn more about your book, what's a great way to do that?
You can go to kenrusk.com and you can see the book and the course that I built there. And you can also go at Ken Rusk Official and you can see me on all the socials. I have to admit, I have people help me do that because that's not my forte, but it's pretty cool. We've had a lot of fun on it.
That's awesome. Ken, thank you so much for joining me on Succession Stories. I really appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Listeners, be sure to follow Succession Stories in your favorite podcast player and on YouTube, and leave us a review. To learn more about maximizing the value of your business and planning for transition, sign up for our newsletter and book a complimentary call with me at thebusinesstransitionsherpa.com. Join us next time on Succession Stories for more insights from transition to transaction.